Welcome to the Bleep Bulimia podcast with Sophia Torrini, certified EFT practitioner and specialist in hacking reality. Hello, everyone. I am Lorianne. I am the host of Bleep Bulimia. And today I am so pleased to have Sophia Torrini. She's a certified EFT practitioner and specialist in hacking reality. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, thank you much for having me here on your podcast. It's an honor. Thank you.
So tell us more about yourself. Tell us what EFT is, and
Absolutely.
Yeah, go for it.
So EFT, I do clinical EFT, which is evidence-based EFT, and let's discuss what EFT is. EFT is a combination of cognitive psychotherapy and tapping on the acupuncture points. So pretty much doing acupuncture without the needles, and it's a combination of cognitive methods and a somatic experience to release energetic blocks. And what do we refer as energetic blocks? Emotions that have not been felt or processed get stored in the body. And when that happens and they're not felt, then the signals between the cells get disrupted and eventually cause disease. And why emotions have to be felt? First of all, the word emotion is energy in motion, but it's the limbic brain that produces chemistry with the emotions. And that chemistry is information, and it's there for us to give us information that we need to prepare for a situation or to avoid a situation. And when we get traumatized when we're young, we disconnect from the body. And therefore, we don't feel anything till eventually, years down the road, we get hit with all these health challenges because we didn't know the language that the body was using. So the body uses emotions to communicate. That's why when you go into a room and you don't like someone, you get this feeling, or if you have anxiety, you get this knot, right? So it's very visceral. So that's what EFT is in a nutshell. And we have clinical evidence. There's over 300 studies that show that it downregulates 6 genes of stress, and one of them is cortisol. So we know EFT is very effective, and it works faster than psychotherapy and some other modalities.
That's wonderful. So what got you into this? And because it's interesting,
Yes.
I have not heard about it. So it's, very interesting.
Yeah. So what got me into, like everybody else, I was highly stressed, disconnected from my body, made a wrong choice, because when we're in survival, we make a wrong decision or choice. So I kind of knew my intuition was telling me not to have this exploratory surgery. To make a long story short, it almost cost my life. Well, I wasn't expected to live, so I lived. But I ended up having with health challenges for over 16 years. And no matter what I did, I wasn't healing. I tried everything, just name it. But there was one question that kept on coming to me. How can a super healthy body, because I was very, very healthy, overnight be at the verge of being expected to die and your organs shutting down? So they said that my body failed, and that didn't make sense to me. Your body doesn't fail. I mean, if I was run over by a car, yes, my body would have failed, but that wasn't the case. And it took me many years, probably more than the 16 years, to start realizing that disease is a biological program. First, I'll explain what it is. The body has certain programs to protect you. And all disease is a lowering of frequency also, all these emotions that weren't out. And when I started first understanding or using EFT, I saw changes, but then you have to find what the conflict is, right? Not for all conditions, but a lot of conditions, you need to find what the conflict is. So we know, for example, people who have respiratory issues, they're afraid of life. That's why they can't breathe. Or people who have issues with their heart, If it's an arrhythmia, it's a lack of balance in their personal life, or it could be a heartache, depending on what it is. So each organ can actually tell us what the possible conflict could be. And it's not the simplified Louise Hay, even though I have nothing against Louise Hay, because she was wonderful, but this goes more scientifically and tells you exactly what the conflict is you need to be looking. It doesn't spell out this is the conflict you have, but it'll tell you it's an anger or a territory conflict. It's someone violated your space, or you're not feeling safe in your space. So it breaks it down, and then you can, or is it identity conflict? You are being not feeling comfortable with what's your identity, or you feel you don't belong. So each organ then will give you that story. And now you can work on the conflict, but also the emotion that was in process. So the two of them, EFT and this blueprint that we have from German New Medicine, it's also being taught in meta consciousness. It's almost the same. Now you have something to work so you can heal. Does that make sense?
It really does, actually. It's very, like, I'm amazed. I never would have thought to put the two together. So that's something I'm learning about. So you spoke about the German techniques. Can you expand a little more on that?
Yes. So let's give an example, since your podcast is on bulimia. So bulimia is not a simple one conflict issue. It's what's called, and I'm not going to go into depth because it's going to get very confusing, but it's what they call a constellation. What does a constellation mean? It's two tracks, two biological programs are running at the same time, and the person is having an issue. So let's explain. I'm not going to go into detail whether you're left-handed or right-handed right now, because it's going to, I want to give the main idea. But let's say one of the conflicts for bulimia, this is pretty much, I think this is for the right-handed person, but let's not put the hands so much in. They have a fear of disgust. Okay, so an example of that be someone is sexually harassing them, or happening in the home or at work, or someone's trying to make, or there's some either fear or lust. It could have a sexual component. So that produces hypoglycemia, which means the binge desire. Automatically, when you have a fear disgust, the body automatically would put the craving response on. So now it triggers low blood sugar, so you can have frantic eating, right? So you can have energy sources probably to escape, because it's all biological. So you have a lot of sources now to escape. Now, the second conflict, because I said it was a constellation, so it's not one conflict, and it affects the other part of the brain. One affects one of the side of the brains, the other one is an identity or anger conflict. So that would be the right temporal lobe. So the purging starts when the other part has been activated, and that could be your parents, because you're a child, right? Your parents are about to get divorced, or you have no control at home. Something is happening and there's no control. So, because we do know from regular psychology, which is not fully accurate, that the bulimic person is trying to gain control. It's deeper than that, right? So the food signifies eating, and then throwing up is the control, right? So now you're expelling the threat. The vomiting is the anger, expelling the threat. And it's very hard for the bulimic person under normal medicine to heal, because there are two tracks running at the same time. So the personality is almost split. They don't want to do it, yet they get the physical urge because blood sugar has dropped. And then after they get the full sensation, all you need to get triggered is a stimulus. And now there's this desire to throw up, which is expelling that threat and that anger. So how do we heal that? Because that's, person now is confused, right? So what they need to do, and let's make it simple for them, is to identify, is there something in your home that is either disgusting you, or there's fear, or your life is being threatened, or your body is violated, right? So we know we have one track. Now, is there another conflict running, the safety now, because the territory anger conflict is usually the stomach. The other one is some cells in the body. So is something that is in your home or in your work environment, whatever it is, because you could be a little older, that you are feeling threatened or your safety is not going to be at hand. So once we work on release the emotions to these conflicts, the body is going to restore. It doesn't need to run this program anymore. It just, there's no need for it. And the only thing they need to do is, consult with someone so we can find what the conflict is, because it depends if you're right-handed or left-handed. And why? Because the nerves crisscross on the brain. So usually for the body, they go down. Usually we call this either the masculine side, and this is the feminine, and the nest or the home. But when we go here, they crisscross. So that's why we need to know which side it is. And then the person can resolve the trauma, and they will have a significant impact, because once we're traumatized, let's say there was a violation or a sexual harassment, there's also guilt that comes, or you don't feel good enough. So by resolving the bulimia, which is two biological tracks running to protect you, even though it doesn't feel that it's protecting you, right? Then you also will regain your self-esteem afterwards, because you're going to realize you don't need to be running these programs, and it wasn't your fault that happened. Someone abusing your space or sexually harassing. I mean, you didn't do anything to create this, right?
Yeah.
Very
interesting.
And I want to address another component. Why do these get activated? So it has to do with our brain waves. This is the neuroscience part of it. So German medicine gives us the blueprint, tells us what conflict we need to go and find. And then neuroscience with the EFT tells us why this actually happens. So children, when they're born, they're in delta brainwaves. That's why they sleep the first 6 months. They're always sleeping. And then they start shifting. They go from theta to alpha, and that goes till about 7 or a little longer. Well, alpha and theta brainwaves, which are the flow state brainwaves, or it's also the brainwaves hypnotists use. When you go do hypnosis, they want to put you in alpha, and sometimes you can get into theta. And why that is important, because that's how you're getting programmed. So when you're witnessing your parents fighting, even though you're not the person in the fight, you're going to pick up that pattern. So that's why all of our challenges happen from the womb till about 13. Right? That's where all the programming, because after some people stop it at 7. I extend it till 13, because afterwards you get beta brainwaves, and you can say, well, that's their problem. It's not mine. You can't do that before a certain age. Whatever you're seeing, you're just getting programmed, and it becomes your reality. So besides tapping, releasing the energetic blocks, so the body's only going to heal when it's safe, because these new medicine tracks that are running are to help you feel safe, because the body feels threatened. So the body doesn't know the difference if it's happening in real life. So when there's a fight with the parents, yes, you may not be running out the room, but you're actually, escaping to throw up, because you have all this anger that you want to, vomit because you can't digest what's happening. So it's also a secondary thing. Digestive issues are usually things you can't digest. And so you want to vomit. It's too much for you to handle. These energies are too much for you to handle. So EFT, besides clearing the emotion, puts you in alpha brain waves. So the body starts feeling safe. So the body only heals when it feels safe and when it's in delta brain waves. That's when the healing, you could start healing in theta, but it's usually in delta. And I'll address now why certain people go to sleep and they wake up exhausted and they never, when they wake up, never feel okay. So traumatic memories, so let's say the sexual assault here or the witnessing the fights, if they're not processed, they keep on replaying in the hippocampus. You're not aware of it, but they're playing at the background in your back of your head, high definition. So all you need is someone with a stimulus, either an emotion or an image similar to the situation, and you're going to be automatically triggered, but it's always replaying in the background. So when you go to bed, you end up having for a long time REM sleep, and you never go to a large amount of delta non-REM sleep, complete non-REM sleep. So when you're going to wake up, you're going to be exhausted, because at night, we bring traumatic memories that we could not process during the day. And if you get stuck because something is happening, you're not releasing your emotions at night or the next day, usually they come up during the night to come to your awareness. You don't do the healing at night, but it comes up to your awareness so you can process it in the day. Because in the day, we're always busy and we don't get any information. And that's the importance. So once the traumatic memory gets healed, it will leave the hippocampus and it'll be stored in the neocortex. So now it's not draining your energy anymore. And so now when you go to sleep, you can sleep better. So most people who do EFT end up sleeping better. And I want to give an analogy. I know I've been talking. I'm going to stop after this.
Oh, no,
Imagine
it's
a
good.
cell
Keep going.
phone. So you have a cell phone, you turned it off, you charged it, you put it on the next day, and it drains every day. You can't figure out what it is. So you check your cell phone and you see, I have 10 apps running. Even though I had turned it off and I charged it, I had 10 apps. So you have to swipe, however your phone works, swipe up, down, left to get rid of the apps. Well, the same thing with the body. Traumatic memories are running in the hippocampus. They're draining the body, which is a battery. How do we know that? Because the first thing they do when you die is they put 2 electrical paddles on your heart. So the body is a battery. That's what they do to revive you. So if these apps are running in the background and you're not aware of, you're going to be physically exhausted.
Very interesting. I like that battery analogy. That's very good too. And the phone. So yeah, and so for someone to basically, if they go, yes, I'm very interested in EFTs, so would they reach out to you? And so what would be the process?
Sure. So they can come to my website, tapintourbestself.com, and I can offer a 30-minute complimentary session to guide them and see, just to get some history and see what's the best thing that they want. So we can do EFT. I also teach a course on neuroscience, Change Your Mind, Create New Results. It's a Dr. Joe Dispenza course. I'm one of his certified trainers. So that gives you a lot of understanding how the brain and body works with the brain waves. So it helps the person realize that the body is not broken. They just need to change their thoughts and beliefs. So how they think, how they act, and how they feel. So that's what I offer. I have complementary information. I have a lot of information on German new medicine. I have YouTube, they can follow me, TikTok, and the handle for all, and LinkedIn, and the handle for almost everything is tap into your best self or tap into your bestself.org or .com, and they can get information. And what I want to really emphasize is they're not broken. They have bad programming. That's really what it boils down to. And neuroscience tells us that the brain is neuroplastic and we can change everything there it is. And I hope I can give them hope to realize that once the conflict is released, they don't have to be suffering, because I know if you are bulimic or anorectic, you've been at this for over 10, 15 years, so sometimes people more, to even break the pattern. And it doesn't have to be, because you're not dealing with the root cause, which is the trauma that took place in the first place.
Very interesting. And I can relate to a lot of what you say. So I just wanted to end this with asking, you say you're a specialist in hacking reality. I just love that. Can you expand on that one?
Okay, so where do memories, under hacking reality, memories get stored between neurons. So first, what we want to do with EFT is remove the emotional charge of that memory. Because that's what keeps on bringing it up. Every time you smell a similar smell or have a similar emotion, that traumatic memory back. So what we do is we take the charge off with EFT, and then we use hacking reality. We go into the matrix and we imprint that experience with a new experience of your younger self. So it's not the you who's changing. We address the self. If you were 8, the 8-year-old. If you were 13, the third, and whatever that 13-year-old wants, with a new emotion and a new belief. And we keep on replaying it and re-imprinting it. So what happens is you're wiring now a new neural pathway, and the old one gets pruned. And the end result is you actually move to a parallel timeline and you have a new experience in life, right? Because you prune the old synaptic connection. It no longer is there if it's not getting triggered anymore. So in hacking reality, we send this new experience to all your timelines, to all the dimensions and all the realities. So all versions of you get upgraded. And if there were other people involved, we send the memory to those as well, this new experience, so they can remember you differently. Because we're in a holographic universe. I don't know if your clients know, but pretty much that's where we are, and we're updating the code.
Very neat. That's lovely. I really appreciate your time. This was very, very interesting, and I've learned a lot. So thank you very much for that, and for your time. So let's just give one final ending one more time, your website, so that people will know where to find you.
Well, first of all, I want to say that thank you. It's an honor, and thank you for having me, because if I can help someone get out of a rut, that means a lot to me. And I want people to know that there's nothing that is not healable anymore. It pretty much almost everything is healable, because all disease is a lowering of frequency or some biological track. It's called a biological program running. It's like a faulty system in the car, that it's just beeping and beeping. Something got activated, and sometimes it's not faulty. It's actually giving you a real message. It's only faulty if you've ignored it for 2 years and you haven't serviced your car. And so my website is tapintourbestself.com, and they can find me on social media with the same handle. And I do have a complimentary session, and I have one on the 18th, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, a 75 complimentary masterclass on neuroscience. So they're welcome to get some information there.
Excellent. Again, thank you so much. Very, very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye. Thank you for listening to this episode. Be sure to visit me at bleepbulimia.com.